Welcome to Workforce Accessibility for All Ages, a webinar series brought to you by the Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh Workforce Group. This webinar series seeks to cover successes, challenges, and resources job seekers might experience or need in re-entering or re-engaging the workforce. This series is an effort to create an equitable as well as equal workforce in Allegheny County as well as the city of Pittsburgh. Hello and welcome to the Workforce Accessibility for All webinar series, Season 2. My name is Monique Yost. I am one of the co-chairs of the Age-Friendly Greater Pittsburgh Workforce Group. My colleague Charles Howell and I will be moderating today's episode in which we will discuss non-traditional workforce opportunities available locally. At this time, I'd like to open the floor up for the panelists to introduce themselves. May each of you share your name, your role, and your organization, please.
Okay, my name is Douglas Sibilia, and I am the Vice President and General Manager of S&S Transit, an access service provider, and I've been in the role for about 13 years.
I'm Karen Hesch. I'm the director of the Access program here in Allegheny County, and Access is a door-to-door shared ride paratransit program primarily serving seniors, people with disabilities, and clients of human service agencies.
My name is David Conway. I'm the Industry Partnership Manager at Partner for Work. Been at Partner for Work for about 7 years and youth programs, apprenticeship programs, and now my role as Industry Partnership Manager.
My name is Tier Barrett. I own Diversity Moving Company, which is a moving company that services Pittsburgh and all the 50 states.
Great, and I'm Charles Howell. I'm the other co-chair for this workforce committee, and I'm also the director of workforce development for Mon Valley Initiative. So again, thank you to everybody for taking the time to participate in our discussion today. Well, let's kick it off. So what we want to focus on today is really, as Monique mentioned, what we call non-traditional sort of careers. And you know, this includes everything from some gig economy positions to the W-9 kind of positions or contract sort of positions. But we want to hear from you all first. To you, what defines a non-traditional sort of workforce? And what is the value of these kind of opportunities, do you think?
Well, this is Karen Hesch. I think for the access system, we're using non-traditional, not in the sense where it's typically defined, and that would be people working as independent contractors without benefits. I think we look at non-traditional more as attracting people to a kind of work that they wouldn't typically consider doing.
This is Tier. I definitely consider non-traditional being the 1099 type of positions that are available, and they're really starting to gain a lot of headway with Uber and Thumbtack and all these different options that you see out here. And I like that we're a part of that because it provides somebody a little bit of independence on how they choose to work and when. Give them some freedom.
Yeah, and I think from my point of view, with apprenticeships is what I've been asked to speak about today. I think in the non-traditional sense, you know, of how do you get into a career, right? I think, you know, we all, you know, have, you know, college educations to get into a career path, or even some other training programs that workforce boards fund, you know, might often be, you know, where you are in training for, you know, a period of time, and then you go and find your job. Where apprenticeship is different is that you're actually working as you are learning. So you're a full-time staffer while you learn on the job, you know, how to actually do that job. So it's a little bit different from the perspective, and certainly advantageous for folks that, you know, may not have the opportunity to have a training for a longer period of time and not have income from that training. So that's certainly one of the advantageous benefits of apprenticeship programs.
This is Doug Sibilia. When I think of non-traditional, I look at it from a different perspective too, in that the individuals that we seek to work for us, mostly we're looking for people that want to make a difference in the fact that they're serving their community. We try to make that relation to them when they apply here, of how important what they're doing is to the community as a whole, as we provide transportation to older individuals and handicapped individuals. We also looked in looking at non-traditional, we've really tried to make the work schedules very flexible for anybody that's applying, basically giving them the opportunity to dictate what hours and when they can work, in an effort to kind of compete with Uber and Lyft. You know, as we're a company that employs people through W-2, you know, we're kind of at a disadvantage when somebody that could just drive their own car and work whenever they want to can go and get side money doing that type of thing.
Thanks. Super helpful. Really appreciate that. Where can job seekers go, or where do you recommend job seekers visit to find non-traditional workforce opportunities? I know we live in kind of a more virtual world, so what would the recommendation be for job seekers seeking these kind of non-traditional workforce opportunities?
That's a good question from the apprenticeship side, and really I think to find, you know, quality job training programs. You know, I think what we recommend is, you know, either visiting our PA CareerLink offices or going online. When you go online, you can actually search keyword for apprenticeships all over the state of Pennsylvania. So that's a really good, you know, first step, and really looking at, you know, what type of industry are you looking to work in. And they will have all of the apprenticeship programs that are currently registered with the state of Pennsylvania. And then I think at that point, you know, it's about contacting the employer or whomever is running the apprenticeship program to find out, you know, are they taking, you know, new apprentices? What are the requirements? And really, you know, looking at what those opportunities are. I think that's a really good way to do it, really good first step, and also the good folks at PA CareerLink as well to help connect them to those quality programs.
This is Karen Hesh. I agree with that job seekers should probably be broader in their thinking at the beginning of their search rather than narrowly defining what they think they want to do, as well as thinking about what they want to get out of a job or training or a career. Access, for example, typically is a job when you're driving, but it's a very different kind of driving job than Amazon or UPS or even Port Authority, where there's a very heavy emphasis on interacting with customers. So it's more like customer service on wheels. If you narrowly define yourself as a driver, you probably limit the opportunities that are out there for other kinds of work or to grow within the company that you choose. I think CareerLink and also the Carnegie Library system is a great resource for job seekers. I know Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh has staff that will help people write resumes, apply online. And those kinds of professionals can help people guide through the maze of, there's so many employment opportunities out there now, it can be overwhelming. So I think seeking the right professional to get started is a great idea.
This is Doug Sibilia. I would second what Karen just said. I just think that from my perspective, it's very important that we try to advertise and also just give applicants more of an understanding of exactly what a job in the access field looks like. because it's very easily to get pushed into, driving jobs, like as she just said, where it's not the same thing. And somebody that's looking for something that's a little different, something that's very rewarding, we could do a better job, and it's a challenge to try to differentiate that to attract those individuals who may be looking.
So I would sort of dovetail some of the comments that you all made so far. I've heard the words freedom, I've heard different, I've heard flexibility mentioned in relative to both apprentice and employment opportunities. So who is it that these positions sort of appeal to, and what makes these competitive opportunities for those folks that you're looking to target?
Well, speaking for myself, this is Doug again. I mean, we obviously want our jobs to be good paying jobs. We want to offer our prospective applicants good benefits. Now, that doesn't really set us apart from a lot of other employers, but what can set us apart is, geez, I just lost my train of thought here. Giving them the flexible scheduling options that they can utilize. A lot of the, individuals that we get to apply here are coming off, maybe they retired a few years ago and they're just looking for something to do on a day-to-day basis. A lot of those applicants are not looking for a ton of oversight while they perform their job. They're looking for some freedom from, the 9-to-5 boss looking over your shoulder every day at your desk, or, those traditional mindsets. And our job opportunities afford that, especially in the driving sector. Our drivers are pretty much, we do have cameras in our vehicles and we have oversight, but it's on them to perform their job. They have to have integrity in everything they do on a day-to-day basis. So, it's a good fit. It's just trying to find those people.
I think throughout the access system, our providers are looking to attract older adults in particular, as Doug said, people who have retired and are looking either for a second career or want to move from retirement readiness, but still have some income. These days, we're finding older people coming back to work because of financial reasons. So this is a good kind of like part-time flexible opportunity for people that need to work because of the economic conditions currently.
So Terry, you come from a different sort of perspective of this. What is it about diversity movers that appeals to folks that you're looking to hire?
Basically, what appeals to people is the ability for them to work as much or as little as they like. I've always found that the avenues for advertising our jobs always go with social media. So we just move with, we move with society. So right now people are on TikTok, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. We advertise there. We say, hey, we're looking for movers there. We go to Craigslist, we pull some awesome people. Well, that's pretty much, that's how we are able to staff ourselves. And I just find that the main reason why the men stay with us, why men and women both come to work with us, is because they make excellent wages, can work as little or as much as they like, and they can travel. They have the freedom to be able to travel. And so, yeah, I'm not really familiar with the access, so sorry. So I don't have much to say about that, but yeah, from this standpoint, I can definitely say that that's where they're looking at. That's where I find a lot of people, especially the younger ones now, they're on TikTok. So yeah.
I will take a moment to shamelessly plug our webinar series, season 1. We took some time to kind of evaluate the job seeker experience in the virtual world. So if as a job seeker, you're watching this and you're wondering, how you can kind of get started, please feel free to take a look at the first couple of episodes of that webinar series. And it essentially discusses engaging the workforce from a virtual perspective. So for tricks and tips, please feel free to visit the age-friendly Greater Pittsburgh YouTube page. Okay, moving right along. How can job seekers be best prepared for these opportunities? I know you guys mentioned quite a plethora of available places to go and kind of visit to avail themselves to the opportunities, but in your minds, how are job seekers able to ready themselves when engaging employers, or as David mentioned, apprenticeship opportunities?
I think that it would be a great idea if they make sure that they have maybe an EIN. If they actually want to do 1099 positions, that's good to understand how to do taxes, to kind of really do some research on what it means to be 1099 or an independent contractor, so that they can benefit from their taxes, because that's what I see most of our guys have the biggest problem with. So I just provide them with the help, because a lot of people think they're 1099 until it comes time to actually do the footwork for it, to actually get, what you should get back at the end of the tax season. Whether you pay in or not, a lot of these guys don't know that they don't have to pay in all throughout the year quarterly to at the end file as a sole proprietor. I mean, there's so many things. So doing the research and really understanding and asking the questions that should be asked to know what you're getting yourself into.
I think one of the great ways to be prepared and know more about apprenticeship positions is actually to participate in a pre-apprenticeship program. There are a lot of pre-apprenticeship programs as well, and really the goal of those programs is to offer a lot of career exploration, but also preparation for it could be a single apprenticeship program that is a pathway in, or multiple apprenticeship programs. And actually the best pre-apprenticeship programs are ones that have multiple apprenticeship or multiple job opportunities that really align with that. So not only give the career exposure to kind of show them, hey, this is what the job looks like. This is type of things that you'll be doing, and also to give some basic skills, some basic preparedness skills to get into those apprenticeship programs. That those are a great way to to be prepared and to know more about opportunities.
This is Doug Sibilia from SNS Transit. Well, one of the things I would say to somebody that is a prospective access driver or looking to do that type of work, one of the nice things is we do not require our sedan drivers to have any type of US DOT medical clearance. So it's pretty much we run their clearances for them. We set them up pre-hire. They would have to have a clean motor vehicle record, have a child abuse clearance, and a criminal record, and pass a drug test. Those are pretty much our standard pre-employment verification. For our van drivers, it's just that they have those, and they would have to get a DOT physical. I don't see that as prohibitive in any way. But for somebody that's, maybe slightly older and doesn't want to have the physical demands of, say, wheelchair securement for our passengers, a sedan driver is very, it's much less physically demanding, and it doesn't require as much, they don't have to pass any physical DOT physicals. So, as far as being prepared, I mean, we have a lot of opportunities, and it doesn't really take too much on the back end for a prospective applicant.
This is Karen. I would agree with everything everyone said. I think it's really important to come prepared with a list of questions and not to make assumptions about what you think the position will be like. There's nothing wrong with asking questions in an interview. You don't have to be the passive recipient of questions. It's a good idea to ask what you want to know. Things like, what will my day look like? What kind of training do I have? Will I have to use any kind of technology that I have to learn about? Do I have to know every road in Allegheny County? What kind of support do I have for getting around? What do I do when I feel, what does your company offer if I feel stressed out or upset about something? I think applicants these days have to remember that employers are very anxious to hire good people. So there's nothing wrong with making sure that you get your questions answered so that you know you're a good fit for that company, because believe me, they're anxious to have you.
And I think that sort of begs a question then from all of you, like, what's the sort of origin then for these kinds of opportunities that you all are talking about? You know, what is what's the genesis or the need that spawned the opportunities in the way that you go about doing business?
This is Doug Sibilia. I mean, the origin of it is the customer demand for us. I mean, we have a large demand of our older population and those with disabilities that continue to, especially post-pandemic here, to continue to want and need our service. They have a want to be connected with their lives, and we need to be able to give that to them.
And for apprenticeship programs, you know, and speaking for, you know, that I don't run one myself, but I've seen many, is, you know, from the employer's perspective, there might be, you know, a lack of, you know, it's certainly a talent gap, right? That they may not be finding skilled workers in whatever field they might be, you know, looking for. They may not have it in the traditional sense and in traditional ways of training talent for jobs. So, and it's also a way that, you know, an employer can, you know, also kind of take control over, you know, the types of things that they want the apprentice to learn. It's really, you know, it's great for the apprentice, but it's also really great for the employer because they can, you know, specialize some of the, you know, training towards specifically what the employer does. Whereas, you know, you might go to a, you know, four-year school, come out and have to, you know, really learn everything that you're doing again and learn specifically what each employer, you know, wants of you. That apprenticeship programs are able to, you know, really expedite that process and get, you know, specialized workers for each employer.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I would just add that I don't think there's an industry that isn't desperate for good employees right now. COVID seems to have changed the face of the workforce. And to a certain extent, we're all kind of competing with each other for good people. That's why, in some ways, the employee is kind of in a good position right now as an applicant. And in the sense that they can find the job that works for them, because there are a lot of opportunities right now. And I don't see that changing anytime in the near future.
Karen, your comment kind of brought up a question for me that I'm curious to kind of hear what everyone thinks. You know, Karen mentioned that COVID has brought some really interesting and unique challenges. Can you guys expand upon that? Can you talk a little bit about like the innovation that was needed or some challenges that you faced to kind of pivot to acclimate and kind of get comfortable with this new world that we live in?
Well, this is Karen. Let me start by saying that immediate response to COVID was we went from very high ridership to no ridership. So in the beginning, we're left with lots of employees with nothing for them to do. So our system had to pivot quickly and look for other ways that not only could we serve the community, but keep the people that we had employed. So we turned to taking large groups to vaccine clinics. We delivered all kinds of food and personal protective equipment until the ridership started to build again. Now, all of a sudden, as Doug said, people are anxious to get out and about, but we don't have enough drivers now to fill the need. So it was kind of ironic that it's either feast or famine. We had nothing to do, and now we have too much to do for the workforce that we have. It's been very difficult to figure out how to continue to provide good service at the level we want when we don't have enough people to drive the vehicles.
So even though that this, you know, this workforce subcommittee is focused around issues of relative to the older workforce, you know, a lot of these issues that we're talking about are issues of diversity and equity across the whole sort of employment landscape. And you know, as you all have mentioned, COVID has exacerbated some of those existing kind of inequalities and some of the just sort of existing issues that were already there, you know, both in terms of, you know, finding qualified applicants and the whole sort of gamut. But do you find that the way that you all operate, does your approach provide opportunities that create more that create more diversity, or that address issues of equity and accessibility across the spectrum by operating in a different fashion than, you know, sort of traditional education and employment opportunities?
You know, with our business, and this isn't the only business we have one in Ohio as well, and the COVID actually did not impact us because we were already online. We were already forward thinking about, you know, using non-traditional workers, using these 1099 guys. What actually ended up happening was we didn't have enough workers pre-COVID. And then after COVID, everything transitioned because everybody came to where we were already at. And now we have just an abundance. And I think that COVID did change the viewpoint of a lot of these non-traditional workers, or people that were looking for that kind of work, and they realized, oh wow, you know, there's a lot of me now, so I better scramble to get the best too. So although it is an employee market, I'll say in some situations, in the 1099, I found it's actually an employer market, because there are a lot of people out there trying to get these positions to fit the lifestyle that they have now post-COVID. That's just my personal experience.
This is Doug Sibilia. I think the biggest shift went from, due to the pandemic, was people looked at their careers, they looked at their lives, and they realized that they wanted something different. For whatever reason it was, they wanted more time to be with their families. They wanted more flexibility to be at home. And I'm not just talking driving job, I'm talking all jobs. I mean, there is still, to this moment, I believe, a very high demand for office jobs to be working from home. And it just seems that with that, there was a ripple effect through all industries. You know, I don't know if it's a stigma or something of that nature, but it seems as though more people just don't want to have to report somewhere at a certain time all the time. And unfortunately, that doesn't fit with certain careers. It just doesn't. Some companies do have that flexibility and can offer that, and some others can't. We are in one of those companies that really can't do that. So our job now is to try to make it as work-life balanced as possible for anybody that's looking to join our company. With all that, I've never seen more opportunity for applicants and good employees. I believe that good employees that have more earning potential than ever before. They have more advancement opportunity than ever before. I don't know many leaders who run companies that aren't in the business of promoting those that help them the most. So in that sense, I think the pandemic was a good thing, but it definitely changed the landscape.
Let me just add to what Doug said is we see across the access system that one thing that employers had to do immediately was create a kind of job where people could see a career path, which is kind of what Doug talked about. The pay rates, for example, for starting employees at most companies went up within a year by between 30 and 40%. So all of a sudden you go from this is an okay job for a couple of years to this is a job where I have flexibility, but I'm getting paid a living wage in addition to that. And that is always like an economic justice issue almost.
Yeah, and I say from the apprenticeship side, you know, with the question about the pandemic, I think that you know, like most opportunities, the apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeship programs that thrived or continued were ones that had already explored a virtual option or had already been doing some of their activities, some of the classroom learning that goes along with apprenticeships virtual. And then also, you know, I think that, you know, even some in manufacturing that, you know, or construction or other jobs where, you know, there's a lot of overtime. And I think, you know, previous generations, you know, they would see the benefit of being able to, you know, receive higher wages working overtime as a huge benefit. And, you know, didn't mind as much having a, you know, a very hefty work schedule at times that, you know, the younger workforce doesn't value that as much. So that they were also able to kind of say, all right, you know, we're kind of forced now to have fewer people working on the floor. We're going to lean into, you know, understanding that, hey, this has been a benefit for our business. And we're going to try to continue on with those actions after, you know, the pandemic calmed down. But also, you know, apprenticeship can be a very good tool to give access to industries and jobs where there's not a lot of diversity. You know, I can say one in the construction fields, it's very traditional apprenticeship occupation. You know, those programs have been going on for generations and generations, but a whole heck of a lot of lack of diversity and not a lot of women workers in construction trades as well. But the pre-apprenticeship program that is run by the Builders Guild really specifically looks at bringing more women and diversity into the construction trades. And I think that it also helps that, you know, a lot of apprenticeship programs operate on cohort basis. So if you are targeting a specific demographic or a specific geographical area or whatever it might be, it also lends yourself to being able to say, okay, what do we need to change about our onboarding and our training that better meets the needs of the people that we're trying to bring into our industry. So it can absolutely be a great tool to create better access, and for the fact that, you know, they're getting paid as they are training, they are working as they're being trained. You know, that cuts down on you know, any debt or, you know, really alienating a large part of the population that can't do they can't go in for a year of training, multiple months of training, or even weeks of training without getting paid of some kind. That you're getting paid as you go. So it's a very good model for that.
Thank you. These responses, I'm still kind of thinking about, the variety that exists, even just for the folks on this call. And I'm sure that's definitely reflected, in the workforce for sure. So thank you, for opening my eyes and kind of sharing that information. Super, super helpful. Last question, then we will wrap up. So I know there was a variety in the folks on the call's experience of getting folks or, needing employees to fill positions. What is the typical shelf life that you guys are noticing of these non-traditional workforce opportunities? And is there patterning based off of your experience in the demand for these opportunities?
I could definitely speak and say that we have some guys that have been with us for 8 years. So if the money is good for them and they feel it's not, and I want to reiterate though, because I don't think it's just money. It's also that life balance, that feeling of what they're doing is worthwhile, and that they have time to go home with their families. It's such a, I think it feeds our guys in so many more ways, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, that they're whole, so they stay. And I'm happy that we're able to offer those opportunities to people across, and hence why we named our company Diversity, because for people across all age groups, from young to old, people, of all races, all ethnicities, all walks of life, that come from all different types of backgrounds, because we are people moving people. Like, we're here, we're in one community, and in essence, it is one community in Pittsburgh. It's one community wherever you have a business at. So I find that these guys feel more a part of the community, and it just makes them better. Even if they were a little questionable or a little sketchy at the beginning, they become stand-up individuals in society, productive members of their society. So it's a wonderful thing to witness. And I'm kind of happy for COVID, to be honest with you, because it disrupted a lot of things. It disrupted job discrimination. It disrupted a great deal of things that needed to happen through an unfortunate situation, but a lot of things in history do. So here we are, and I hope it continues to grow in the right direction. Thank you.
I think for the access system, I mentioned that as far as shelf life goes, we're not looking, the system is happy to have employees, but generally we're looking for people who are interested in making this a career and not a stopover on the way to something else. I think in all industries, there's churning at the bottom with new employees. Before COVID, it was largely an issue of how much people got paid. Now it's more an issue of, I took this job, I find it doesn't suit me. I know there are 45 other jobs out there that pay the same as this. So people think a little bit more permission to leave a job because there's so many other opportunities out there, which is kind of, but you might be surprised to know that in that workforce across all access providers, 41% of the drivers are age 60 or over. And that's a combination of older people applying for part-time jobs like Doug talked about, but also a number of people who have chosen to make this kind of work their career because they enjoy it. And so they start out and age through the system until they retire and maybe become one of our customers. But I think it's pretty significant that percentage of the workforce are older adults.
And to piggyback off of what Karen just said, I believe that, and what we have seen is, we have a very strong core of drivers and employees across the board that have been with us for a lot of years. I'm talking over 10 years. They have made this place their home, so to say. I mean, they come to me and say, this is the place I'm retiring at. They love their work. And, due to some staffing issues that I personally had, I had to help out with a new training class. And it was kind of amazing in teaching for the first time in many years to see the apprehension of somebody that's brand new in a class. Like the thought processes of, and they're trying to impress me and the other trainers, they're making things much more difficult than they are at times. Like we have a module in our training where to teach and assist and escort individuals who are vision impaired. We actually have a kit with a set of goggles where the trainee wears the goggles and they get escorted so they understand what it feels like for that individual. And, they're taught on, this is where you should put your arm to escort somebody like that's vision impaired. And this is how you help somebody up the steps and this and that. And, you watch them and they're giving these simple commands or suggestions to somebody. They're making it hard. And I always told them, I said, you're going to have a lot of time to get comfortable in this position. We're not going to throw you into the fire. And, they have to feel, prospective applicants have to feel that they are not going to be abused. And if somebody can make it in our field and feel comfortable within the first 6 months, I have a high, not certainty, but I have a lot of confidence that they can be here for a long time, because everything else has come up over time, whether it's due to the pandemic, their pays have increased, our benefits are good, like those traditional things that people care about. But now we've added the flexible work schedules. We've added, other benefits to what they have. And so if you can make an applicant comfortable and know that they're going to be transitioned along, that goes a long way in employee retention. That's about all I have for that.
Thank you. Appreciate
and I
that.
think
David?
Sort of similar things on the apprenticeship side as far as the shelf life. I mean, employers that are engaged in apprenticeship programs, they are, making an investment in the worker, right? They are, essentially paying for this individual to, they're getting a worker, but they also are investing in their education, right? And investing in them individually. So, this is, it's not meant to be where, somebody goes in for an apprenticeship and they work for a year and then they move on. No, it's the opposite, is that they are looking, and most really good employers that have incorporated apprenticeship strategies, they will look to basically upskill those apprentices that, maybe they spend another couple of years or another couple of months once they've completed the apprenticeship program, which, it could be a year, could be 2 years, could be multiple years. Depending on what the employer wants to do, but then they're looking for that individual to continue to progress, and that they can bring in others to fill those roles in the apprenticeship program. So they're definitely there's all kinds of different types of apprenticeship programs. Some that are purely by time based, and then some that are competency based, right? That we know people learn at different speeds. That once they've complete a certain level of competencies and they've completed the apprenticeship program. And throughout one of the requirements for registered apprenticeship programs is that they also, come to an agreement with the employee and say, once you've reached certain levels of the apprenticeship program, this is the pay raise that you can expect to get. So it's, transparency, between the employer and the worker, on what they will be doing, what they need to learn, what they need to be competent on, and then what they can expect financially as a reward for that. So, it is a, tool not only to bring in entry-level workers, but also a way to retain workers, workers that are seeing that level of transparency with their employers and receiving, training and mentorship throughout. Those are hitting a lot of things that workers of all ages are looking for in an employer.
Special thanks to David, Karen, Doug, and Tier for taking time out to provide some really amazing feedback. And looking forward to feedback from the general public as they view this series. So thanks again, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Special thanks to the following organizations for their contributions to the webinar. There will be a one-pager including tips for all ages relating to the content that you have seen and heard during this webinar series. Please feel free to reach out to any of these organizations for more information. This webinar series is brought to you by Age Friendly Greater Pittsburgh, an organization that seeks to ensure equitable and inclusive living for residents of the city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County.